So it's almost 11 and we need to get started. So we start on time and we also will want to end on time, right? So thank you for joining me on a Saturday morning. And I hope all of you are doing well and we are glad that you are here. I hope you're able to see the screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes, Anand.
Super, thank you. I keep on asking because I'm completely and totally dependent on technology to do this session. And I just don't want to speak into a system and then my voice is not reaching to anyone and that becomes a comical scene, right? So thank you for that. We may have some new joiners on the call. So let me start with my typical introduction. Well, most of you know me, but there would be a few who are joining us for the first time. So if you're joining us for the first time, let me welcome you onto this group. We are uh, a group of passionate learners and we want to create an impact. Hence the title of the WhatsApp group, creating an impact. And I think so all of us have tremendous potential to create an impact and leave the world a better place than what we found it. That's at least what I want to do. The day I leave this world, today could be the last day of my life, and I would want to leave this world a better place than what I found it. And for that, I think so today matters. Very, very important that we realize that the future does not start tomorrow. The future starts today, right? And hence I believe today matters. For some of you who may not know me, just a quick introduction. My name is Anand Bhatnagar, and I prefer that you call me Anand or AB. And the four words on which I have tried to live my life, I even today, is something that drives me, is something that motivates me, gives me direction, is start unknown and finish unforgettable. No matter what we do, no matter in which domain we work, which geography we are in, what age group we are in, we all start unknown. No exceptions there. But only a few manage to finish unforgettable. And I, for one, would want to finish unforgettable, leave a mark in the lives of people that I get a chance to interact with. And as I said, leave this world a better place than what I found it. I've been working in the professional field for close to about 28 years now. And over these years, I've got a privilege and just an honor to represent companies such as Max New York Life, such as HCL Technologies. And I enter the ninth year in my stint with Reliance Industries. And this is also the month of my birth. And this month, every year, I reach out to friends, colleagues, and associates, family, everyone, acquaintances, and I say that give me feedback. I believe feedback is the breakfast of champions. Some of you would have received and a message from me yesterday night or today morning where I have shared a Google form link. So uh, let us be practitioners. That is what I have always believed, right? And feedback is the breakfast of champions. So August month is something which I cherish because I was born in this month, and also I joined the family of Reliance in this month, right? So it's important that we take a pause, stop, reflect, retrospect, introspect, and see what's happening. Am I going with the flow or am I in a flow? Am I doing what I want to do, or am I just getting too comfortable? Right. One of the things that I have always believed that each one of us should do is become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right. And personally and professionally, I do a few things, and whatever I do, I have always said that I am what I am and I would be whatever I would become in my life because of the three pillars of my life. Number one, the unceasing praise of my parents. Without that, I cannot even think of moving an inch. So that is like the wind behind my back that helps me on my onward and upward journey as I try to go above and beyond. I think so. It is the wind beneath my wings that helps me. And I will ever remain so grateful and indebted to my parents for the prayers. Even today, my mother would not get up without praying for each one of her children and her grandchildren. Right. And it is such an amazing, amazing comforting point to know that someone is praying for you. Number two, the unconditional support that I get from my wife. Her name is Smruti, and she is the rock of our family. And she is one person who transforms our house and makes it a beautiful home where there is harmony and love and respect for each other. And we are blessed with what I call the best daughter in this world. Her name is Natasha. And this is my family. This is my joy. This is the reason I am what I am. And as a person, I believe compassion is what moves me and passion is what drives me. And I am blessed. I feel happy and I love living life. I hope all of you are feeling blessed today. I hope all of you are happy today. And I hope all of you love living life. Well, there is a lot of depth in that statement. I haven't met many people who live life. I meet so many people who are only going through the motions. They're only existing. And I, for one, would want to impact people's life and help them become the best version of myself, of themselves. And over these years, I have lived my life on the core values of empathy, on gratitude, on generosity, of integrity. And as a person, I believe I'm a very vulnerable person. I make a lot of mistakes. And even today, I would make mistakes. I'm prone to making mistakes, but that is how we learn. And I believe that if we are not making mistakes, then maybe we have stopped growing. Because the minute you stop making mistakes, that means you're not trying something new. And as long as we are trying, we will make mistakes. And I am absolutely okay with that. And the vision of my life is to impact 100,000 lives by 2027. Can I bring a smile on someone's face? Can I make someone's life better because of me? Can I give hope to someone? And my passion is teaching, is coaching, is mentoring people, especially the youth of today, and helping them build and hone their leadership skills. And through their skills, through their talents, become the best versions of themselves and make this world a better world. And whatever I do, I should be able to honor God through my thoughts, my words, and my actions, and earn respect for my family. And let's live life with an abundance mindset, not with a scarcity mindset. There is enough and plenty in this world, right? So that is what I am. And you are your own brand. This is a series, and in case you are joining us for the first time, one more time, I welcome you into this series. I hope you will be with us every Saturday at the same time. Last Saturday, we touched upon a couple of points on agility, on adaptability, and how we need to be agile and be adaptable to situations, and how that basically builds the culture of change, and how it ushers in a period of change, which is so very, very important, right? So if we want to bring in change, how do I create a growth mindset, which is so very, very important, right? And we are on a series where we would want to understand, how do I become the best version of ourselves? How do I start unknown and finish unforgettable? And we are going to cover a lot of points. We are going to cover goals. We are going to cover planning. We are going to cover prioritizing. We are going to cover many aspects in the series. And today, what we want to do is we would want to talk about personal brand. You are a brand. You are what you are, right? And how do you represent yourself, right? It is so very, very important that we understand the importance of being a brand, right? And as I start this series, let me share with you a statement which is very near and dear to my heart. Number one, products are built in factories. I'll repeat what I said. If you're making a note, please write this down. Products are built in factories, but brands are built in the minds. I'll repeat what I said. Products are built in factories and brands are built in the mind, right? So the question is, what brand are you building, right? What is a brand that you represent, right? So are you a brand on your own, right? So very, very important that we understand that, right? So you are your own brand, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it, right? And you may know that you are unique, right? So, and I have titled this slide slightly differently, and as spelled the word unique slightly differently. It is unique, Y-O-U, and then N-I-Q-U-E, right? So there are 5 points that makes us unique than everyone else on the face of this earth. People who have lived, who are living, and who will ever live, right? There are 5 things that are not common with anyone else. Number one is your DNA. Right, our DNA is unique. No one else in this world will have the same DNA that we have. If you're making notes, make a note of this. Number 2 is our fingerprint, and I'm sure you know about this. Hence, the biometric and the authentication on many things like Aadhaar is on fingerprints. When you travel outside, there are a lot of countries where they'll check your fingerprints before they allow you to enter their country. Right, so fingerprints is unique. Number 3, which is unique, is our voice print. Right, so the way you speak, it is, you may copy someone else, right? You may mimic someone else, but yes, you may not exactly speak like that. The voice print is unique. Number 4 is our pupil, or the eye print is unique. And number 5th, very interestingly, I'm not sure how many, some of you may know, most of you may not know, what is unique is a body odor. No matter what deodorant you apply, but yes, our body odor is different, right? And so this is what are the 5 differentiators that differentiate us from everyone else. So let me talk about personal brand a bit, right? So it's this combination of 2 things. Number 1, how you see yourself, how I see myself, and how others see us. And the intersection of these 2 is what is personal brand, and we are going to talk about it, right? And in the time that we have today, we will finish exactly at 12:30, and in the time that we have, we would want to cover 3 things. Number 1, the need for significance and identity. Very, very important. What is your identity? What is my identity? Very, very important. Number 2, we are going to talk about what and why your personal brand. Why do we talk about personal brand, right? And what is a personal brand? And I'm going to give you 2 classical examples. Hopefully, it will make some sense to everyone who is listening to me now, and to everyone who will listen to the recorded version of this, or who is listening to us live via YouTube or Facebook Live. And the third is, I will end the call today by sharing with you the 7 steps of building a personal brand, right? And so hang on with me, and let us dive deep into learning these points. The first, as I said, is the need and the significance for identity. So think about it. What is your identity? Think about it. If someone were to think of you, what is that one word that would pop up in their mind that represents you? So identity. Hindi mein bole to aapka wajood. So for this, let me share with you a very, very interesting story. I'm going to talk about 2 things in this point. The first point is very critical for everyone who is working and for those who will be working in times to come. The first one is what I call the concept of surplus society. What is surplus society? As you can read it on the slide, that more and more companies are producing products which do more and more of the same. More and more schools and colleges are teaching students more and more of the same. Hence, when they come out of their academic institutes, they pretty much are in a surplus society. They don't have a differentiator. Right? So am I a part of the surplus society? What am I doing to be a differentiator? For that, let me share with you a research that was done by PwC, one of the leading consultants in the world. And they reached out to the top executives in Fortune 100 companies and asked them 2 questions. Number 1, what are the skills do you think are in demand and will be in demand in the future as we navigate through the new normal? And the other question that they asked is, what is the availability of these skills? So the skills in demand and the supply of that demand. And based upon these 2 points, they made a 2x2 matrix. And if you look at the slide and the 2x2 matrix which is there, if you look at the bottom left quadrant where my cursor is, the bottom left quadrant is what I call the surplus society. That means those skills are not that much in demand. They are in demand, but not hugely in demand. And there are a lot of people who have those skills. So it's a demand versus supply challenge. So the demand is less, but the supply is huge. So what are those skills which would fall under the surplus quadrant, if I can call that a quadrant? Skills such as science, technology, engineering, and maths. Skills such as digital skills. So you may be thinking that, yes, you are digitally literate. Fantastic, very good. That's a good start. But don't stop there, because there are many like you who are digitally literate. What we will have to do is move on and get into what I call the quadrant that is going to distinguish you, set you different from the other people, help you stand out from the crowd. Skills such as problem solving skills such as collaboration, so very important. So very important that I move from the mindset of I and get into the mindset of we. I should not be I, me, and mine. Remember, unless all of us win, no one is going to win. That's collaboration. Very important. And we are struggling to find people who are good team people, team players, right? So there are a lot of people who work in silos. So they will do what is expected out of them, and that is what they do. And nothing wrong with that, but we'll have to collaborate. And there are many people who I know who confuse collaboration with cooperation, who confuse collaboration with coordination. These are two different worlds. And we're talking about collaboration. We are not talking about coordination or cooperation. Very, very important that I learn leadership skills. I learn about creativity and innovation. In the session that we did last Saturday, I spoke about the concept of zoom in and zoom out, microscopic view and a telescopic view. How do we think differently? How do we converge to ideas? How do we have divergent thinking process? So the convergence of thoughts, the divergence of thoughts, critical thinking skills, we spoke about analytical thinking skills, all that we covered last time. Very important that I remain in that quadrant. And I think so for us to be in that quadrant is going to be a brand in itself. So am I a person that my management looks up to when they have a challenge? So when the company that I work for or the team that I represent, if they have a challenging situation, am I their go-to player? For example, I follow cricket. I am a cricket fan. I'm a sports person. So one of my favorite teams is India or Chennai Super Kings or Mumbai Indians. So if you take Chennai Super Kings, and if CSK is in a bit of a bother, who do you think Dhoni will look up to as the person for the crisis, man for the crisis? If they are chasing, he may look up to a Suresh Raina. If they are bowling, he may look up to, let's say, one of his fast bowlers, and they will respond. If you look at the current Indian cricket team, who do you think a Virat Kohli or in the past Dhoni will look up to when they are in a bit of a problem? Who is the go-to player? Maybe a Rohit Sharma, maybe a Jadeja. If it is, you need to create a miracle in the field, and no better person than Jadeja to hit the stump from nowhere, to take a blinder. If he is wanting the bowler to choke the runs and put pressure, he may go up to a Jasprit Bumrah. So am I a Jasprit Bumrah for my team? Am I a Rohit Sharma for my team? Am I a Virat Kohli for my team? Am I a go-to player? I think so that's a brand. Very important. Right. So what is the impression we have? That is very important. And as you are making notes, please make a note of this, that between your intention and the perception people have about you, perception is always reality. I'll repeat what I said. Between the intentions that you may have, that I may have, and the perception that people have about us, between these two, perception is reality, right? So we need to make sure that we are doing all that we can, that there is as little a gap between our intentions and the perception. And I think so for that, we'll need to communicate more often with our stakeholders. So that's point number one, under the point of need for significance and identity. Point number two, very, very interesting, is
Sir, may I seek clarification, sir?
yes,
Namaste. Shirish Pingle from
namaste.
Bank.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, Shreyaji.
Perception, you said, is a reality.
Yes, sir.
Uh, will you please elaborate a little more?
I will. I will. Thank you for asking that question, Shreyaji. Uh, for example, I have an intention to train my people. For example, I'm leading a sales team, and I'm doing all that I can to make my salespeople ready for the market. And in that attempt, I call them early in the morning, and I'm making sure that they attend training programs, and that training is a bit rigorous. Before doing that, did I communicate the why of what I'm doing? My intention is to help them. But what is the perception that the team may have? The team may feel that I'm being a bit too pushy. I'm throwing my weight on there. And they will go and talk to my seniors or my regional manager or my national head, saying that Anand is doing a lot, and it is too much. He does not give us space. So that's not my intention. My intention is to help them sell in this very difficult market. So for us to be able to ensure that there is as little a gap between my intention and the perception that people have of me, we should always clear the why, the intention, the intent of what we are doing. For example, when we do let's say take this series for example, right? So some people may have a perception that why is Anand doing this, right? So for some of you, like you have been on this call very regularly, our intention is only to help. Our intention is just to share knowledge, right? And there are some miscommunication that happens both personally and professionally, and I think so it happens because we fail to communicate. Always communicate your intent, always communicate the why of what you're doing. And if we fail to do that, people will build the perceptions about themselves, and no one is going to reach out to us and understand what was our intention. For example, again, taking a example of cricket, our perception of Virat Kohli is he's a very arrogant, aggressive cricketer. We don't know whether he's arrogant or not. It's just a perception, right? And people will uh, tilt they will be a bit biased towards their own perception of people and things. And hence I said perception is reality. And I learned this very early in my life. In fact, as a sales leader, one of my regional managers in the city of Ahmedabad taught me this thing. And the example that I gave you of training the salespeople is an example of my life. And I would call my people and do product trainings and process trainings and pour my heart into them. But no one had told me that I need to convey my intentions before I do something. And the result was they started complaining to my regional manager, to my national head, that he is a bit too tough. And there were a few people who left my team, and they did not come and talk to me. They went and talked to my seniors. This is about 15 years back. But that helped me understand that, okay, no one is God, that they get a peep into my heart and understand my intentions. What is the perceptions my actions are building in their minds, right? So my actions should be coherent with my intentions. And I think so communication becomes extremely important for that. So I hope I answered you, Shirish ji.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Most welcome, Shirish. Thank you for asking that question. Right, and I would encourage everyone who is listening to us to ask questions so that this becomes a learning session. I would love to do this face to face, because when we do face to face, the connect is very different, and I think so the impact is also of a different level. But then we are living in extraordinary times. I do not know whether we'll ever be able to do a face to face session. Till such time we do a face to face session, we'll have to make best use of technology that we have. So I would encourage you to ask me questions. Stop me whenever you have a question, and I'm absolutely okay with that. Don't wait for the session to end and then ask questions. Have a question, just stop me and ask, right? So thank you, Shiriji, for setting the tone as far as that is concerned. So what I was talking about a very, very interesting example, right? This is about twins. And then let me help you with this example. The twins, the Bijani twins, correct me if I'm pronouncing their name incorrectly. They were Iranian twins, born in Iran, and identical twins. Their name was Ladan and Leha. And I hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly. In case not, forgive me for it, incorrectly pronouncing their names. Now, Ladan wanted to be a lawyer, whereas Lehan wanted to be a journalist. Whereas Lehan wanted to play with games and computer games and other things. She was more outgoing. Ladan preferred computer programming, right? And Ladan would describe her sister as more introvert, and she would say she was very talkative. Now you would say, Anand, that's fine, and we know a few twins, and they are very different. Like my wife and her sister, they are twins. They are identical twins, head to toe. They're like carbon copy, and they're also very different in the way they think, in the way they act, their choices, so on and so forth. The reason I'm giving this example to all of you is, while they were twins, what was unique about them, they were co-joint at the head. You can see that in the image. So while they were two bodies, they had one head. So they were co-joined in the head. And they were growing up. And they approached the doctor to perform an operation and separate them. And the doctor said, the medical history has enough and plenty of points to tell you that this is a fatal operation. You have no chances of survival, if at all. There is a miracle, you can pray for it, but this is not going to be successful. So what do you want to do? So while the twins said we want to get operated, this is the response that the medical team gave to these two sisters. And you know what was the sister's response to what the doctor said? The sister said, we would rather die as individuals than live without an identity. We would rather die as individuals. The need for significance and identity is so very real. And as the doctor said, the operation was not successful, and they passed away on July 8th. Right? And this is a classical story. You may want to read more about this on Google and find out more about it. So need for significance, very, very important. Again, I'm trying to give you a high-level overview, and for anyone and everyone who wants to understand the nitty-gritties of each of the concepts that we will learn in this series, you have my contact details. I'll share it one more time at the end of this call. Feel free to reach out. We are there to help you build better understanding on these concepts. So there are, in terms of learnings, there are 4 levels. Number 1 is awareness. Number 2 is knowledge. Number 3 is mastery, and then you become an expert, right? So the awareness, the knowledge, the skills, and the mastery, we are talking at an awareness level, right? And then we will do things all that we can to help you move from the awareness level to the knowledge level, from the knowledge level to the skills level, and the skills level to the mastery or the expert level, right? So understand these concepts and make notes of it. The second thing that I want to share with you about a brand is what is a personal brand and why are we talking about a personal brand. Please remember, I'm not talking about promoting yourself. I'm not talking about it, but I'm just talking about what is your identity, right? And how do people perceive you? That is very important. So let me help you understand a little bit about personal brand, and let me cite two examples, right? One is someone that all of us know, Steve Jobs. Any idea who is on the right of the screen, of the slide? Any idea who this person on the right of the screen is?
I'm not sure, but Steve Wozniak.
I knew someone would say that. That's a good guess, but no, that's not Steve. That's a good guess, but no. Anyone else who can just go for it. There's nothing right and wrong about it. Just go for it. Okay, so while the person
Dennis Ritchie.
Dennis Ritchie, absolutely, Ashish, you got it absolutely right. So he is Dennis Ritchie, and why don't we know him? Let me talk about why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about these two gentlemen? Right? We all know Steve Jobs for Apple, and what Apple is today and how they started and all things about Apple. And many of you may be using an iPhone right now. Just out of context, I'm not sure how many of you know what the I in iPhone stands for. We all have an iPhone, but what is the I, the alphabet I on an iPhone stands for? What is I in an iPad? What is I in all the products of Apple? Right? So you can, please don't Google it. Not everything on Google is right? So I always encourage people to go to the source, authentic source, books and the company websites and all of that. Right? So we know about Steve Jobs, we know everything about Apple. Ashish, what do you know about Dennis?
Well, he was in our very first chapter of C programming. He is the founder of C programming, and
That's right.
the guy behind that foundational language
That's right.
that has
That's
framed
right.
many programming languages above it.
Absolutely. Without Dennis, we would not be doing this call, or we would not be technologically as advanced as we are today. Right? And you read about him. He is a phenomenal person when it comes to contribution to technology. And the architect of many languages, and like Ashish very rightly says, the C language. But why don't we know him? What are the efforts that he had built in building a personal brand? Remember, we need to have a brand recall. We need to have a brand consideration. And we'll talk about it in the subsequent sessions as well, when we talk about business strategy. Right now, we are talking about a personal brand. We will also be talking about how do you build a brand from a product point of view. Because many of you may be in sales and marketing, or in distribution business, or in any other customer facing role. So how do you build brands, right? And ensure that your customers will buy your brand. So there is something called a brand equity. There is something called a brand recall. There's something called a brand consideration. We'll talk about it, about products sometime later, right? And so if I were to ask you, what is a personal brand? Any idea what would be your answer to this question?
Brand that sets your identity to the public. That a brand that exhibits your work, the things you are interested in, to the public.
Okay, very nice. That's a good answer, Ashish. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Anyone else?
or character.
The image in public's mind about you.
That's right. So that's positioning in marketing language. Yeah. So
Okay.
how do people position you? So when we talk about marketing, we talk about the four P's: price, product, positioning, and placements. Right. So
Yes.
positioning there is what is the image that your customers have about your product. And so I like the answers that you said, and all of them are right. So if I were to combine the inputs that you gave, we would arrive at this sentence: it's a unique combination of strengths, passion, gifts, and purpose in the workplace or in our personal life. It's a unique combination of your strengths. And we will do a complete module on how do you understand your strengths. We will do a series on SWOT analysis, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. And we'll also do a session which many of you may not know. There's a concept known as TOWS. It's a mirror image of SWOT. While SWOT is a planning tool, TOWS is an execution tool. And we will look at these models, and we are going to cover a lot of things in this series with the only intention is to help each one of you rise and shine in whatever you're doing. So what's a personal brand? Everything that you said, and adding to that, it is a unique combination of our strengths, passion, and our giftings and our purpose, both in the workplace and in our personal life. That was some input about point number 2. Let's look at point number 3, the 7 steps that are needed to build a personal brand. Right? And what are those 7 steps? Step number 1 is believe in yourself. And I find this as the most important point. And in my work, I get to travel a lot. My work takes me to different places, and whether you're on a flight or in a train, on a bus, meeting and talking to people, I, for one, believe that there aren't many people who live life with confidence. There is an issue of self-belief, right? And we will do a complete series on how do you build that belief in yourself. But do you believe in yourself? Many times, and listen to me this carefully, many times we undervalue what we are and we overvalue what others are. We underestimate our potential, and many times we overestimate some other people. For example, if I were to ask this question to you, quick 5-second activity, in your mind, think of 5 successful people. And okay, speak out the names.
Abraham Lincoln, Sachin Tendulkar.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Dhirubhai Ambani.
Dhirubhai Ambani.
Kapil Dave.
Okay.
APJ
So my
Abdul Kalam.
question to you is, why did you not take John? Aren't you successful? You are successful. Why didn't you think about your parents? So we are about 30 of us on this call. How many of you thought about your parents as people who were very successful? How many of you thought about yourself? Did Pradeep Bhai think about himself? Did Hasmukh Bhai think about, well, Hasmukh Bhai spoke about Dhirubhai Ambani. I know Hasmukh Bhai for the last about 8-10 years. He is a massively successful person himself. We tend to underestimate what we have done, and we tend to overestimate others. I'm not saying that we should become people with self-inflated egos. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you overvalue yourself, but don't undervalue yourself also. Believe in yourself. You are gifted. You are unique. And that's what we started with. The giftings that you have, no one else has. But many of us struggle when it comes to believe in yourself. And you may find this innocuous, very simple, very basic. You may have heard it before. Okay, you have heard it before, but what are you doing about building that belief in yourself? That yes, I can do it. One of my favorite authors is Anthony Robbins. And he has this amazing book that I suggest all of you read, Awaken the Giant Within, where he talks about the incantations that he does. Incantation, that means before doing something, before a session, before a meeting, before a presentation, he will go behind the stage and talk to himself that, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. It is the incantations that he does. But many of us are plagued with doubt. And some of you may have heard this, heard me say this before, that doubt has killed more dreams than failure ever has. My first point, believe in yourself, because if we don't believe in ourselves, guess what? No one else is going to believe in ourselves. Number one. Number two, discover yourself. Number one, I said, believe in yourself. Number two, I'm saying is, discover yourself. How do we discover ourselves? Let me give you some points. And if you're making some notes, please make a note of this. This is called the yearning. So what kind of activities are we naturally drawn to? Think about it. What are some of the activities that we are naturally drawn to? For me, activities that involve people is something that I'm naturally drawn towards. Activities that involve me helping the next generation is something that I get naturally drawn towards. Because fundamentally, I believe that each successive generation should be better than the previous generation. So when it comes to coaching, when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to guiding, those are activities that I get drawn towards. I can do a lot of other things as well, but these are activities that I naturally get drawn towards. So I would urge you, request you, recommend that you write this down and think about the activities that you are naturally drawn into. That's point number one. Point number two, in discovering yourself, is what kind of activities do we seem to pick up very quickly? We don't have to struggle in learning the concepts and fundamentals. For example, while I was in school and college, physics came to me very naturally. The concepts and the fundamentals of physics got into my head like hot knife through butter. It was like smooth as silk. But you talk about biology, never understood biology. So what are the activities that you seem to pick up very rapidly? Right now, like I said, I'm a sports person, and I tend to pick up things regarding to sports, like playing a nice cover drive, learning a few strokes as a batsman. I tend to pick up those things pretty quickly. So what are those activities that you seem to be picking up quickly as compared to some others? That's point number two. Point number three is the flow point, where think about what activities do we do where the steps just came automatically. So it was more of system one thinking that got you the job done. We'll talk about thinking as well. Well, I talk about system one and system two thinking. System one is more doing it in a flow. Like someone asks you, what is 1 plus 1? So you said 2. So that is system one thinking. But if I ask you multiply 523 and multiply it by 674. So now what's happening in your mind is system two thinking. It's a conscious effort. So what are those activities where you seem to be in system one, where it just flows and the steps come to you very naturally? You don't have to struggle. You don't have to grapple in terms of understanding the steps and the flow. The next point in discovering ourselves is think about what activities give you a kick. Either while you're doing that activity, or immediately after finishing the activity. And then you start wondering, when can I do it again? When will I get a chance to do this again? As I move to the next point, my request to everyone on the call is if you can please mute yourself, that will give us clarity on the call. Thank you. Let's look at the next question. The next question is related to glimpses of excellence. So doing what activities you had those moments when you said, aha, it was an aha moment for you. And he said, did I actually do it? How did I do that? What is your aha moment? And when you get the feedback of what you did and you wonder, wow, that was pretty interesting. It just was a breeze. So what are those activities where you have those aha moments, where you were just in a different zone? Think about it. Think about the next question. Think about what are you passionate about and what are you uniquely gifted at? This is, I think, so the most important question, and not many of us spend enough time thinking about strengths. We need to leverage our strengths. I'll repeat, we need to leverage our strengths, my friends. So think about what are you passionate about? Like I'm passionate about teaching. I'm passionate about coaching. I'm passionate about mentoring people, especially the youngsters of today, and helping them build leadership skills, helping them become the best version of themselves. Can I give them wings to soar like an eagle? At the same time, can I also give them the roots that they stay strongly attached to their core values and ethics? So I'm very passionate about it. What are you passionate about? Are you willing to do what you do without being paid for it? Like I do all these sessions, and in my life, I have never ever taken a penny from anyone. Never. And I hope God never allows me to see a day when I'll have to charge money to share my passion with people like you. And there are many people who say, Anand, you should charge money because what costs nothing is worth nothing. But somehow my conscience does not allow me. So I believe passion is something that we will do with the same intensity, no matter whether you get paid for it or you don't get paid for it. You will prepare for it. Think about the last one in that discovering yourself point. Let us ask ourselves, what will I happily stop doing because I know I'll never be great at it? Like Sachin Tendulkar, one of my favorite Indians, he said, I will not want to have the additional burden of captaincy on my shoulders because I'll never be great at captaincy. Rahul Dravid, one of my all-time favorite, I just adore him. What character, what person he was. Amazing. He also said, I relinquish the position of captaincy because I don't think so I'll be great at it. That does not make them any lesser people. They are still legends in their own rights. Like Roger Federer, one of my favorite sports person, did not get into playing doubles. He said, I don't think so I'll be great at that. So what are some of the things that you feel that you need to stop doing? Right? So take this formula, KISS, the KISS formula. What are the things that I should keep on doing? What are the things I should improve upon? What are the things I should start doing? And which are the things that I should stop doing? Right? And it is good to reach out to friends, to colleagues and family and check out with them. Solicit feedback. It helps you identify your blind spots. I do this every year on the 1st of August. And if you are on a WhatsApp group with me, or if I have ever shared a message with you or an email with you, you would have got a message. If not, by the end of today, you will get an email or a message from me. And I just would want to know that how can I become better? Because it's a blind spot. I may not realize. Hence, what I said earlier, the intentions and the perceptions, right? And We all need to understand our strengths. Repeating in one more time, my dear friends, leverage your strengths. Work on your strengths. A unit of effort spent on our strengths will give us far greater dividends than the same unit of effort spent on our weaknesses. Again, don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying ignore your strengths. I'm saying leverage your strengths. And you'll be great when you work on your strengths. Be laser sharp in the focus. Zoom in to that. Be microscopic in that view when it comes to execution. And if you're making a note, please make a note of this. Performance is equal to potential minus interference. I'll repeat what I said. Performance is equal to potential minus interference. That interference generally is in the mind because we start doubting ourselves. And when you are on your strengths, when you're doing those activities where you're in a flow, where you say, yes, bring it on, or you can pick up any challenge and you will generally, or I will generally come out of it with flying colors. You don't win always, but we will do better than most. So think about that. That was point number. Yes.
One question. There were all these types, right? Strengths, rapid learning, flow, yearning. Aren't all of these connected? Like if I know
Absolutely.
my
That's a great point. That's a great point, Prakriti. They are all connected. So
right,
it's likely interwoven. So one cannot do without the other. But the reason I'm sharing this is to help you think in different compartments in your head.
yeah, and
It helps
maybe then we
you.
can get a
That,
concrete, structure.
that's right. That's right. It's think of an onion, how you keep on peeling one layer and go to the next layer, then the next layer, then the next layer, till you reach that point, which is the sweetest part of an onion. So it is the delayering of these concepts. And these are some pointed questions that will require a lot of conscious effort for us to think. And it does not come in a ziffy, it takes time. And yeah, so these are different points, but yes, woven together. That's a good point that Prakriti pointed out. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So what I'm saying broadly is, and I would want one of you to explain this statement on the screen, that let us leverage our strengths and staff our weaknesses. And I put the word staff in inverted commas. What is staff? Any idea? I'll give you 30 seconds for that.
Master.
Pardon?
Colleagues. Colleagues.
Master.
Colleagues, master. Okay, that's a good guess. Okay, so when I say staff our weakness, what I'm saying is some of you may be in a position to do it now. Someone like Prakriti and Ashish will be able to do it in the future. What do I mean by it? So in areas where I'm not as good at others, I need to recruit those people into my team. So they should be a part of my staff. They should be a part of my team. So when I recruit people in my team, I should recruit people who are better than me, who are brighter than me, who are sharper than me. And most managers make this fundamental error of recruiting people like themselves or a bit inferior to them so they can boss around. And you think of great leaders like Jack Ma, or if you think about Steve Jobs and all these great people who have done some phenomenal work in their lifetime. They say, I'm not the smartest in everything. I can do a few, but I can't do most things. So when you get a chance to build your own team, please staff your weakness. So let's say I have an area where you are not good at. So let's say look at skill A. You are not very skilled at skill A, but I am very skilled at that particular skill. So you should have me on your team. So I compliment you. So we start complimenting each other. That's how the word team came in. TEAM. Together each achieves more. And the teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, so some of you who may be in positions of recruiting people on your team, remember this statement. Let us individually leverage our strengths and let us staff our weakness, right? And maybe today we don't have the time. Next Saturday, one of you may remind me, I'll show you some videos on the word leverage. What do you mean by the word leverage? And the leverage word is very important in the financial world. How do you leverage, right? And leverage your strengths and staff your weaknesses. I hope you got that point right? And let's move on. And then
Sir, one
we
question
have
is
already done a session on strengths. I had one of my mentors, my guides, a very, very good friend of mine come and talk about strengths. I'll invite him again for the benefit of those who are joining into this series. From now, I will have a session on strengths by one of the only 58 people in the country who are qualified to talk about it. There are less than 1,000 people in the world who are qualified to talk about it. And he will come and share these things with all of you. So when I say strengths, what does it mean? Right? So you start with talents, but you end with strengths. I'll repeat. You start with talents, but you end with strengths. How do we do that? Be a part of the series. You will hopefully get to learn a few things that will help you rise and shine in your life. So let me go to the... Yes, my friend.
Sir, how to overcome a weakness for a particular period of time?
That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. So if I may, if you allow me, if I may ask you a question for the question that you asked me, right? Because you will say, Anand, I asked you a question, so why are you asking me a question in return, right? So the question that I would want to ask you, my friend, is why do you want to overcome your weakness? Why can't you spend that energy in building on your strengths? Just a question for you to think about it. So think about that weakness and think about putting the effort. There's no harm in putting effort in working on your weakness. Yes.
Anandji,
Anji.
I have a doubt. I have a question. If suppose you have to choose your life partner and you select for your weakness, probably they will blackmail you for lifelong.
सर इतने डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन ऐसे सेशन में मत पूछा करो. दो हाथ जोड़ के नमस्ते करता हूँ. हमारे गुजराती में ऐसा बोलते हैं, बे हाथ ने त्रीजू माथू. એવું हमारा गुजराती में કહેવાય.
सेशन सीरीज चल रही है, तो आगे आने वाले सेशन में I hope I will get some answer.
You will get that answer.
For younger.
अजीत जी आपने मतलब मेरा 2 किलो वजन बढ़ा दिया.
Sure.
Because it is also again on a serious note, जब आप वो रिलेशन में है, let's say I'm marrying a person who has strength in my area of weaknesses, that person is not going to blackmail me. In case that person blackmails, then वो relation कभी था ही नहीं साहब. हम compliment करते हैं एक दूसरे को. जैसे मेरे पास 1, 2, 3 एरियाज में स्ट्रेंथ है, मेरी लाइफ पार्टनर के पास ABC एरियाज में स्ट्रेंथ होगी, तो हम मिलके we become a better couple. So I believe in one statement that God brings two imperfect people together so that one perfect God can be glorified. So मेरे में बहुत सारी कमी है. मेरी I'm not sure आप starting में थे कि नहीं, but I spoke about my values, and one of my value is I'm a very vulnerable person. I make loads of mistakes. एंड अगर मेरी वीकनेस या मेरी गलती के वजह से कोई मेरा मजाक उड़ाने वाला है, if someone is going to blackmail me, then the respect in that relationship is missing. And we will do, on a serious note, we will do a series on how do you understand your better half better. I'll repeat what I said. We will do a series on, again, in the same creating an impact mein, how do you understand your better half better, right? And that is so very, very important. Yeah. So okay,
Thank you, sir, for wonderful
most
I
answer.
wanted to bring one.
but that's a good point. Yes, any other questions?
Sir,
Ji.
you're talking about the strength and the weaknesses. So
Yep.
I'm quoting this from First Understand Your Strength, written by Marking Buckingham. He said that manage your strength, as you rightly said, and work on your strength and manage your weaknesses. It is
That's
not
right.
that ignore the weaknesses,
That's right.
but
That's
you
right.
know